Yeah, so welcome to SAKtown Talk here on KIBH-FM Seward. Lorraine Temple, is
Yep.
that your name? Yes, you're with Cooper Landing Safe Trails, or is there some larger organization?
No, it's just Cooper Landing Safe Trails Committee.
Great. And so this has been, according to my understanding, was the editor of the Seward Phoenix Log back in the early 2010s for about 3 years, and this subject came up. I think it's been a persistent subject, the intersection or the interaction between trappers and other users of the trail system here, specifically on the Eastern Kenai Peninsula, is where I was focused. But I understand that it's a larger issue anywhere there's a lot of people on trails where there's also trapping going on. So what is the initiative that your group is trying to focus on?
Okay, well, you're right. This issue goes back a long way. You talked about 2010. I know in 2015 there was a committee formed to try to mitigate these conflicts, and didn't get too far. And the problem is that highly used public trails here in Cooper Landing, we have a lot of campgrounds that are groomed for skiing, road pullouts. The beaches along Kenai Lake have all had conflicts. Some dogs just maimed, some killed in their owner's arms. One was on Waikiki Beach. The owner watched her dog literally die in her arms. So to put some regulations in place, a committee was started back then. It was actually over 10 years ago, but 2015 is when the first real effort was created. Nothing happened. Jump ahead years later, the conflicts continued, and really, I think the biggest conflict is knowing that these issues and these things happened creates a certain fear and causes people to just not go to some of these places after the traps come out in early November, and either not bring their dogs to go play like they had been doing, or just avoid them altogether, which is not really why we live here in a rural wilderness setting. I started this committee a couple of years ago. We came up with some signs asking trappers not to put their traps at certain highly used places. And we're not talking about the whole backcountry. And this, I have to underscore, this is not anti-trapping. This is creating some safe buffer areas along highly used areas for public use. And I mistakenly put some on Forest Service property, and I was informed very quickly that I couldn't do that. But anyway, we stepped up our game. We actually made some proposals to the Federal Subsistence Committee. The Federal Subsistence Management, I should say the Federal Subsistence Management Board. Federal regulations cannot supersede state. So even though we put out these proposals for these setbacks, they were voted down because because of ANILCA, it would override state regulations. Jump ahead a year later, we're now making our proposals to the board again, because that's where the change is going to start. That's the surefire way of getting regulations to change. So we've been working on these proposals, and I know in Seward there's a proposal for 100-yard setbacks. It's proposal number 148. Man named Jacob Schwartz submitted that to the Board of Game. There's proposals down in Homer that for the Nordic ski trails there, for some trails over in Kachemak Bay State Park. And then we here in Cooper Landing have a suite of proposals. It's kind of a little bit of a hotter area in Cooper Landing because of such a small area that's so condensed with recreationalists and consumptive and non-consumptive users. Our proposals are, we worked to get the most compromising, conservative setbacks possible. So, for instance, in the past, the whole Upper Russian Lakes Trail that goes around Mount Cecil Road was proposed. We actually pulled back on that because really most of the people from here and that come down from Anchorage or wherever to visit and go up to the Barber Cabin, that's only like the first 3 miles. So we didn't ask for the whole Russian Lakes Trail, just those parts that are the most highly used. Resurrection Trail, we didn't ask for the whole Resurrection Trail, although people do use it, you know, all winter long. But really the most highly used area, the first like 6 or 7 miles. So that's what we asked for. Kenai Lake beaches, just the beaches that were or visited, you know, specifically this one on Snug Harbor Road where what we call Waikiki, where the dog was trapped. Campgrounds are groomed for skiing. People like to go ski joring, take their dogs skiing, and let them run around. Well, people can trap in a campground. So we really try to be conservative and respectful to this long time historical, you know, it's an institution, trapping is. We know that. I have friends who are taking their kids out and teaching them ethical trapping. That is been around for a long time. We're not trying to eradicate that, but to create these other areas and take the fear factor out of it, because the fear factor is palpable here. I can't overstress that. Young mothers, grandparents, they want to take their kids or little kids out playing on the trail. I was just talking to a local gal the other day, lifetime Alaskan, traps, hunts with her husband. And she said, I am scared to death because my kids like to run off the trail, go stick their hands in things. And there's a little cubby right outside the trail, you know, getting their hand caught. And she's really, you know, mortified. Just yesterday, I was in Seward, had an incredible support from the community of Seward about these. And I talked to a youngster, she looked like she was in high school. And she said, oh yeah, she said, when I was skiing, my ski tip pole, she said, got caught in it. I tripped a trap. I know that's what it was. My ski tip, my pole got, that's how close the trap was to the trail. Now, if a dog was running along, and especially if it's scented, it's going to get that dog, you know, like that. So that's what we're working on.
So some of the mitigating factors that are already built into the plan for having traps alongside trails include marking them. I seem to recall that's kind of hit or miss. So for instance, the trap that the ski tip hit was probably unmarked, or?
Okay, there's no regulations about signage, placement, marking traps. There's no regulations. In fact, a trapper can put a trap on your personal property. If you don't have it posted, legally, they can trap wherever they want. And especially if they're subsistence trappers, they can go anywhere. Now, an ethical trapper isn't going to do that. Ethical trappers are not really who we're talking to. Unfortunately, there's the loose cannons that do trap there, but there are no mitigating regulations in place right now. That's what we're trying to establish and trying to, you know, put out there. But right now, trappers can trap anywhere legally, except for on the National Wildlife Refuge. They do have setback regulations there and trap identification that's necessary. There, we have also put out a proposal for signage, and even the trappers are on board with this. One of our let's see, what number is it? It's proposal number 154. Number 154 is for trappers to have signs indicating at every entrance to their trap line that there is active trapping going on. And seriously, most all the trappers I've talked to, they're in favor of that. And some of the pushback is their concern that their traps might be removed, tampered with, the product removed. And one younger trapper here in Cooper Landing, when I said, you know, I was just seeing it from their side. He said, you know what, I'd rather have that than kill somebody's dog. That was his quote unquote answer to that. So
yeah, well, I know some trappers who don't care if your dog gets killed, but that's the ones we're talking about, right? Yeah, it's their right and they're going to stand on it, kind of deal. Yeah, so I was under the misapprehension that there was signage required. So is there an organization that represents the trappers? Because you know, it's been a while since I've been on this subject, but it seems like there was some sort of at least voluntary signage that they were trying to not enforce, but kind of encourage trappers to use. Yeah.
Yeah, the Alaska Trappers Association, the ATA, is I would say really the most prominent group that represents the trappers. And our committee put on, in conjunction with the Seward Dog Lodge, put on a trap release educational seminar last month that was held in Moose Pass. And there's about 5 trappers there. And interestingly, they all really did support the signage. One of the more vocal trappers who's been dealing with this for years, he was on I think he was Fishing Game and might have even been Board Game, Ted Spraker. He very outwardly said that the time has come, the need for change, we need to address this. There's so many more recreational users coming into this area that yes, some changes it needs to be addressed. And having said that, just to give you a fun little statistic, there are literally 0.04% or 0.4% of our population traps. The ADF&G issues a little over 23,000 permits, but they estimate only about 3,000 of those permits are actually used to actively trap. When you take the whole population of the state of Alaska and do the numbers with those 3,000 active traps, it comes out to 0.4%. So 99.6% of the people of Alaska don't trap. And for our little community here in Cooper Landing, that equates to 1.2 trappers are here, and yet we are not. The regulations are they are in favor, or they support the trapping. They don't have any they don't. It's all geared toward the openness of trapping, and it's just super unbalanced. Yeah.
So what's the procedure now? You've got comments due by March 3rd, and this is specifically just for these proposals for, see, we got Cooper Landing, Summit Lake, Kenai Lake, Kachemak Bay State Park, Homer, and some ski trails in the Homer area, and then trails in Seward. I don't see the beaches in Seward as that, or the riverside along the river, specifically the Resurrection River, which receives a lot of traffic. So those areas are not covered by this initiative.
Right. I would hope and pray that this is a 3-year cycle, you see. So we don't have another chance to make any changes to these regulations or have any regulations put in place for another 3 years. That's why right now this is so critical. The only Seward proposals that came out were very broad, just 100 yards back from Seward trails. So I wish it had been a little more extensive, but hindsight's 2020. At least there's something there. There's some momentum going. There's some, word getting out there. There's some action being taken. Okay, but right now what we're concerned about is just getting people to comment, getting support. March 3rd's tomorrow. I've been working on this for about 2-3 years, and we're down to our last 24 hours of garnering support. And the best, I think the easiest way for people to go on and make a comment, it doesn't take long. We're talking a paragraph saying, I support trap setbacks. It doesn't need to be a dissertation unless you have strong feelings and you want to write more. They take up to 1,000 words or something like that. But the easiest way, I think, is to just Google ADF&G Board of Game, go to South Central Region meetings, and boom, there's your comment form. Or there's a QR code there on the flyer you're holding. And I don't know, excuse me, if you can post that. I had a lot of youngsters yesterday, and I say youngsters because frankly, that was the majority of the people who were whipping out their cameras and using the QR code on the poster I had. But it was very interesting. I would say 1 out of maybe every 25 people I approached politely declined to sign the petition I was putting out there. Very polite, very, very nice. but that was like 1 out of 25, maybe 30 people. Everybody else was like, oh yeah, oh yes, oh yes, we're behind this. But now they need to go forward and make comments and support these. And it's a numbers game at this point. The board game just needs to see the numbers of people behind the effort.
Okay, so we'll post with this video, we'll post the links to comment, pro or con. And you have Cooper Landing Safe Trails at gmail.com is your contact email. And
Yes.
deadline is what? Close of business on March 3rd or midnight?
11:59 p.m.
All right. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and post all this, and folks can comment and familiarize themselves with the different proposals you've got here. The trial balloon night kind of went up in 2015, but didn't really get off the ground. And then this is kind of just trying to, I guess this will be a demonstration project, huh?
Hopefully it's going to be.
Because this isn't a state. I mean, this issue is statewide. Obviously, it's hit some sort of critical mass here in the Eastern Kenai Peninsula. But obviously, people will be paying attention to this.
A lot of eyes are on us right now on what's going to be happening, because there are other setbacks in different areas. Like Juneau has a quarter-mile setback. Their municipality put that in. We are a class 2 municipality here on the Kenai Peninsula Borough, so we don't have that ability to do that. Anchorage has setbacks off their in the municipality trails. The Mat-Su was approached last year to create setbacks on their trails. Unfortunately, the Alaska Wildlife Alliance put out they proposed 235 trails. A committee was formed to discuss with the trappers and the recreationalists to see which trails would be acceptable to both sides. They came up with, I think, like a dozen or 10, something like that they both sides agreed on. And the Board of Game, even after all that committee meeting and discussing, they still declined it. The Board of Game is very one-sided. I have no problem saying that. There's no recreationalists on there. They're appointed by the governor, and a lot of us are really hoping in the future that Board of Game can be more equally representative of our population. And there's something else I was going to share with you, and it's escaping me now. So anyway, the important thing for today's discussion is to please get out there and comment. Middle of March, March 17th and 18th, there's going to be public testimony taken in person in Soldotna. That's another super important. If people feel passionate about this, to go and be part of that. The Cooper Landing Safe Trails at Gmail is open for, I can answer any questions. I mean, I don't even mind giving my phone number. Do you want my phone number?
Yeah, you can go ahead and give out your phone number if you're comfortable doing that.
I am.
Okay.
907-299-2855. Happy to answer any questions, give any direction, clear up any misconceptions, anything to just help people out.
So this event that's coming up past the deadline tomorrow at midnight, March 3rd, midnight, or 11:59, is this event, is this a state before the Board of Fish and Game, or is this some sort of other event that you're talking about coming up?
No, this is the regional meeting for South Central region. There's 5 regions in the state of Alaska. This is the South Central region meeting of the state of the Board of Game, but it's the state board, but just addressing South Central.
And they accept public testimony at this meeting?
Yes, absolutely, positively.
And what date's this?
March 17th, March 18th. You have to appear in person and get your name on a list before 10 o'clock in the morning, and then wait your turn to testify. Okay,
so another shot at it then.
Yeah, that's going to be a real important one to attend. So yeah.
Yeah, we can explore the trade aspects. I probably should have somebody on from the Alaska Trappers Association to discuss the the economics behind this and how they feel about the representation on the Alaska, the board of the Fish and Game Board, because yeah, it's it's the same complaint that you hear from the sports fishermen down on the Kenai, is that there's there's no representation for recreational use. All right, well, thanks a lot, Lorraine Temple from Cooper Landing Safe Trails. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, Diane McLean is the ATA president over in Soldotna Kenai area, and she's a super person to talk with. So Diane McLean, after this is over, I can give you her number, and she'd be one to talk to about that.
Great. All right. Well, thank you. This has been SAKtown Talk, traps and trails, the intersection between recreational users and trappers here on the Kenai Peninsula. And comments are due by March 3rd at which is tomorrow, if you're watching this, on a contemporary basis, 11:59 on March 3rd, and we'll post the link along with this video on SAKtown Talk and Seward Public Media, Seward Public on Facebook, and get out there and comment.
Thanks for having me very much, Wolf.
You bet.